If you possibly blinked this week, you might have missed it. Like a thief in the night, one team in the NFL, more so in the day, made an abundance of trades at this NFL trade deadline and a lot that caught us off guard. Some may think that just because said team made these deals to get a lot of draft picks, they may have won the trade deadline. But I think we have a thing or two to say about that. I'm your host, Matthew Raridan, and this is the Snap Count Show. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another installment of the Snap Count Show, where I'm your host, Matthew Raridan, and with me today is none other than David Street
What's up, everybody?
and Thaddeus Lloyd.
Hello.
Guys, like I said, if you blinked, you may have missed it. If you kept your eyes wide open, you did see and everything that unfolded with the trade deadline that just passed this week. And we'd be stupid to not talk about it. Okay, there was some very, very big breaking news that happened on these trade deadlines. Sometimes, historically, as of late, it's been pretty quiet. Well, we got the opposite of that this year. I mean, I was glued to my phone waiting for all these deals to happen and some deals that did not happen. Even though it seemed like it much, there were teams that made some trades that were much needed that actually helped fix them. Then there were some that kind of made your head scratch. But then also, what I do want to talk about here in a bit is the ones that didn't happen. But first, David, we have to talk about the first breaking news of the big trade deadline, and that was the Indianapolis Colts acquiring Sauce Gardner for 2 first-round picks. What was your instant reaction when you saw that headline?
My instant reaction was the Colts are going all in. It's Super Bowl or bust for them. They certainly gave up a lot, but that's the price you have to pay to get a guy of Sauce Gardner's caliber. Listen, at this point, the Colts are by far the best team in the NFL, but even the best teams are not perfect. And right now, the Colts' glaring weakness is their secondary. They've given up the most. They're tied for a seventh in most touchdowns given up. And Sauce Gardner, being the lockdown corner, he has not given up any touchdowns this season so far. I looked up. So obviously, when you get a guy like him, it's going to add a massive boost to your secondary. There's other winners, I would say, of the trade deadline, but in terms of filling a glaring need and just priming up for a big time title run, yeah, it's the Colts, and no one else is even close.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, picture them being in Vegas. They're pushing their chips. They're all in. That's what that move made, and that was my instant reaction as well. But also, my instant reaction to this was they're all in, but on Daniel Jones too, because they gave up 2 first-round picks for this. Okay, so where you normally get, your next quarterback is usually in the first round. So they seem very confident that Daniel Jones is their guy, and he's going to continue to play like he has been for the next years to come. Otherwise, they wouldn't give up 2 valuable first-round picks. But Sauce Gardner is an incredible talent that does instantly bolster that defense.
Yeah, and if I may add something about Daniel Jones, and then we can go to you, Thad, and you can add your piece in. But with Daniel Jones, obviously the New York, he was in a horrible situation with the New York Giants, and we've seen other players leave that team and succeed right away. The most obvious example being Saquon Barkley with the Eagles. And speaking of the Eagles, you can say that the Eagles are a very unique team. They have a very unique situation, but I think they have shown us a blueprint that you can win a Super Bowl even with the quarterback who isn't elite, as long as everybody else around you is elite. And I think that's what the Colts are doing here. I think the Colts have an elite roster. I don't think Daniel Jones is necessarily elite, but I think the Colts have shown that they do have an elite roster. So I think the Eagles have shown the blueprint that, listen, your quarterback doesn't have to be top three, but as long as everybody else around him is great, then you know, you can definitely reach the mountaintop.
Yeah, absolutely. And Thaddeus, your thoughts really quick on this?
Yeah, it was a big trade. Like David said, with the Eagles, obviously they've shown like the modern blueprint, but we've had teams in the past who've had B, even at sometimes C quarterbacks go win a Super Bowl because the rest of the roster is so good. And that's really what we're seeing here with the Colts. Obviously, the Eagles had an insane roster last year, and the Colts actually, they've always had they've had a good roster. Chris Ballard has actually done a really good job with the Colts. It's just they've cycled through a lot of quarterbacks, and it's actually impressive how many games Shane Steichen won with Anthony Richardson because Anthony Richardson was so terrible. Yet they were still. I think he was able to get to 500 or a little over 500 with Anthony Richardson. So now he's upgrading to Daniel Jones, who's he's not an elite quarterback, but he's like a B quarterback, and they're just doing really well. He's executing the offense. And another thing that I don't feel a lot of people are talking about is the upcoming QB draft class. A lot of these quarterbacks in college, at least from my perspective and from other people's perspective, it's not going great for a quarterback class. So and a lot of the times, too many NFL teams are too easy to give up on their QB. Like, who are you going to replace with your C, B level tier quarterback, right? You might get a D quarterback in the process. So the Colts are going all in on Daniel Jones because you kind of know what he is, and he can actually execute this offense really well. So, yeah, this really is an all in year for the Colts, it was a great trade. I really hope that Sauce Gardner can return to his form for the first 2 years. Because even though he hasn't given a touchdown, he has not been great the past couple years. So, but they got Lou Anarumo, which was a really big addition because the Bengals were too cheap to, have him as their defensive coordinator. So they already got the coordinator, they've got the D line, and hopefully they have the secondary now to pair with a really great offense.
Yeah, and this wasn't.
Well, I think
Oh, sorry, David. Continue.
I was just going to say one quick thing. I think, in fairness about Sauce Gardner, I mean that is a fair point that you raise, Thad. But a couple things is that it's the curse of a good first year. Like Sauce Gardner's first year was just so insane that it's really seemed like he had no go but down from there because that's how good his first year was. And then obviously, the Jets are absolute dumpster fire. So you got to imagine that it's going to be a lot better for him when he's actually with a stable organization.
Well, he also had Robert Sala his first 2 years, which is why he was so good. I think, in my opinion,
True,
so
that's
he's
that's
have a
true.
good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
he came into the league and there was a lot of hype, especially getting drafted that early, coming out of Cincinnati. That he backed up the hype, and so more power to him. And he earned that contract, and here he is now with the Colts, where I think he's going to thrive even more. But this wasn't the only big deal that happened that took place. The second one was Quinnen Williams to the Dallas Cowboys in a major splash. I mean, the Cowboys they usually don't do this type of thing at the trade deadline, and they made a big splash. Quinnen Williams is on his way to Dallas. Another two first rounders going to New York's way. I mean, this is just crazy. I mean, it was pandemonium when I saw this happen, and you look at the Jets, they are stockpiling these draft picks. Okay, they were doing a big fire sale, and there were other players that the league was expecting they would give too. I mean, Breece Hall, we thought for sure was going to get traded. Possibly Garrett Wilson. If you're going to trade away Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, why not trade away your other stars? But the Jets now end up with three first rounders in 26 and another three in 27, if I'm correct. I mean, they're stockpiling. They really are, and you have to give them credit for that. But it's the Jets at the end of the day, so let's not get too excited for them because they'll find a way to screw it up. They definitely will. And I want to hunker down on a point here: is the Jets always be the Jets. I mean, they had Quinnen Williams, they had Sauce Gardner, they have Breece Hall, and they have Garrett Wilson. Those are four players that are probably top 10 in their positions, yet the Jets can't even squeeze out a win. That's just how bad their organization is. I get it. Four players don't make a team, okay? But they've had the stars. They just can't seem to ever piece it together. But here they are with 3 first-round draft picks this next year. But Thaddeus, what was your instant thought to seeing Quinnen Williams go to Dallas?
Uh, it's like a slightly less downgraded version of Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, everyone. I really didn't think he would do it, but then I was like, it's Jerry Jones. He would do anything. And the funny thing is like, Jerry's like, I'm gonna make a big trade here, boys. And then they were like, oh yeah, it's Logan Wilson. And then the news broke Quilly Williams, and everyone was like, okay, all right. I thought that was really funny. But yeah, I mean, it's a good move. But is it going to take them to the playoffs? I don't think so. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. Dak, after having his amazing start, he's, turned off God mode the past couple weeks. Now he's faced some good defenses, but the offense has finally simmered down a little bit, and this defense is still bottom 3. I mean, Quinnen Williams might help them. They might move up a couple spots. They might be bottom 5 instead of bottom 3. But it might not make a difference in the end. This is just like a kind of a wasteful trade, in my opinion. Although you did get Quinnen Williams out of there, so he went from 1-7 to 3-5-1. I mean, there you go. I mean, of course, it wasn't Sauce who went from 1-7 to 7-2. So, whatever. But I really thought, yeah, it was just funny. I had another thought on this, but yeah, that's
Well,
that's basically.
one thing that I see as well is it is kind of a waste because with how tight the NFC West is right now and even the NFC North, we know the Lions, can bounce back at any given point. Dallas would have to win their division. I just don't see them winning, beating out the Eagles in the NFC East right now to make the playoffs. So this trade really doesn't do much for them this year. Next year we'll see, but this year I see it being as a waste.
I remembered my point I was going to make. It was actually piggybacking off your thing about the Jets being terrible.
Yeah.
You know how bad the Jets are when Aaron Rodgers is not doing well. He was there for 2 years, tore his ACL the first year, and did not have a great second year. And look what happens with Sam Darnold. I mean,
Yeah,
he's been a legit MVP candidate this year, a top 5 quarterback statistically. And you're just like, well, where has this been? Well, he was with the Jets,
well,
but then he goes to these different organizations and goes to Kyle Shanahan, and then goes to Kevin O'Connell. Does really great. Good things happen when you have good coaching, and the Jets just have had a terrible organization and terrible coaching.
yeah. Well,
So,
David, speaking of Sam Darnold, I think Seattle could be, a secret winner as well at this
I
trade deadline.
I know I agree. I think if you're going to talk about, if you're going to talk about the teams that made the most underrated moves, Seattle is definitely up there. Getting Rashid Shaheed from the Saints was absolutely huge for them because the biggest weakness that Seattle has, at least offensively, is wide receiver depth. Because their number one guy is Jackson Smith and Jigba, but after him, it's a massive, massive, massive drop off. So with with Shaheed, he immediately becomes Seattle's number two guy. And Cooper Kupp was supposed to be the number two guy, but now he's questionable. And I mean, it's very obvious at this point Cooper Kupp is a 1 year wonder. Granted, he had the best 1 year wonder in NFL history, certainly for a wide receiver, but still a 1 year wonder nonetheless. So this was definitely it may not have been a splash move like the Colts made with Sauce Gardner, but this was a massive move in terms of filling a glaring need at depth.
Yeah, I mean, it really spreads the field for Darnold and gives them a lot of speed between Jackson Smith and Jigba and Shaheed. But Jackson Smith and Jigba is leading the league in receiving yards. So, and I expect him to continue to put up great numbers. But like I said, this just helps Sam Darnold, spread the ball a little bit more throughout the field. And
Yeah, and what it also does is actually I'll rebuff you a little bit on Cooper Cup. He was actually really great. It was just he's been an injury riddled player, especially this year. He's always been a great player, but then it was just culminated with Stafford and everything. That was the 1 year. But he's been injured a little bit. Obviously, he's an older receiver now, so he's more of a pure possession receiver. But he's like I said, he's been injured this year. But it's actually really great because not only is Shaheed a number two, like he was with New Orleans, but he's also going to be that downfield threat, which he's basically cheaper DK Metcalf at this point, which they're kind of lacking a little bit. And the interesting thing is that he's reunited with Clint Kubiak, who was the Saints offensive coordinator from last year, and he actually did really good with Clint last year. So I think this was a really, really great move by the Seahawks.
yeah, let's see if you guys could kind of catch this trend that really quick. This will be one of my final points here on this deadline is the Jets, the Rams, and the Browns. If you haven't caught on to those three teams and what I'm about to say, you'll get it now. Those three teams control 7 of the first round draft picks this next year's draft. That's insane. Just I thought it was crazy the fact that the Browns and the Rams had 2 first round draft picks this next draft. Well, the Jets got 3. So 3 teams control 7 of the first round draft picks. So I just think that's kind of a crazy stat, well, especially with the Rams. For all those years, they didn't have any first round draft picks at all. So here they are now with 2 in the first round, and expect them. I mean, this was supposed to be a very quarterback heavy draft. And I mean, Stafford is not getting any younger. He's dealing with injuries, so you would think the Rams would try to draft his predecessor, but or his successor, but it's just not as strong as some thought it was going to be right now. But that could change. But uh, the trade deadline was crazy this year. It really was. So I love it. I love when it's crazy like that. I just wish my team would have actually made some moves, but they didn't.
Yeah, same here. The Bucks didn't really make any moves either. I can understand the reasoning being that, um, Jason Light has always prioritized homegrown players over rentals, trade guys, things like that. And I know he's banking on the injured guys coming back. But even so, it's like you couldn't make at least one move. You couldn't make at least one trade. I guess you think our roster is good enough now, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean you are in first, so I know some GMs are like, well, let's not fix what's not broken, but
Yeah.
I, I don't know, it's tough. I mean, there are still needs, there really is, and teams get hurt, and your
I
team
mean,
has been hit with the injury bug as well.
different. This is a different sport, but it's the same concept. But over 5 years ago, the Lightning won over 60 games in the regular season. We stood pat at the deadline because we didn't think we needed to do anything, and we got destroyed by the Blue Jackets. So
Yep. So it does happen. It really does, and you regret it, and it bites you in the butt. But sometimes it does pay off. So
yeah,
I mean, we'll find out with a lot of our teams that did not make moves. So, but on to this next week because there are some really really good games this week. I feel like the last couple of weeks have been kind of boring. They really have. But you're starting to see a lot of things shape out. I know that we have talked about where the current playoff standings are, and we expect, not to be a lot of changes, but that doesn't mean that there's not great games coming up. And this week there is, several great games. We're going to start out with the first one here. I'm going to let David take this because it is none other than his Buccaneers, but it is the New England Patriots coming into Tampa to face the Buccaneers. David?
Yeah, so what I like about this matchup is that it's a battle between two unlikely MVP candidates between Baker Mayfield and Drake May. Being biased, I still think Baker is the MVP front runner, but we can converse about that some other time. Bucks are just coming off a bye week, a much needed bye week, by the way, because our offense has looked really terrible our last couple weeks of playing. We got destroyed by the Lions, and then our offense once again was terrible against the Saints. But luckily for us, their offense was also terrible, and unlike the Saints, we actually have a defense. Um, so much needed win over the Saints, and much needed bye week to hopefully correct the errors that we've been experiencing on offense. I think at this point it's still kind of hard to gauge just what kind of a team the Bucks are, because like we're not we're not really elite at anything. I think Baker has been playing at an elite level, at least in terms of how he's been able to carry the offense, especially with all the injuries we've had on offense. I think defensively we're coming around, but I wouldn't categorize us as a great team. But I think we do have potential to get there. And as for the Patriots, they've certainly been a massive surprise. Mike Vrabel, I thought was a great hire, but I didn't think that the Patriots would take off until their second, maybe their third year. I didn't I didn't expect them to hit the ground running their first year. So kudos to them, and kudos to Mike Vrabel. But I will say that even though the Patriots are winning, they're on a big winning streak right now. Most of the teams they faced have been bottom feeders, or they've been below average teams. The only impressive wins that they've gotten so far, in my opinion, are the Bills and the Panthers. But add a massive asterisk to the Panthers, because the Panthers do have a winning record, but I think we can all agree that the Panthers are not nearly as good as their record indicates. I think the Bucks are going to be their second big test. Their first big test being being the Buffalo Bills, and they're coming into Tampa against a well rested Bucks team. So because it's in Tampa, give me the Bucks over the Patriots by a score of 25-19. I think the Bucks defense once again has a great game, and I think their offense does just enough to complement the defense. So 25-19.
Yeah, when Mike Vrabel took over for the head coaching job in New England, we knew that he would equip a great defense. Or he's always been an excellent defensive minded coach, and we knew that his defense would be great, and it really has been. But like you said, they haven't faced some of the best competition. So facing the Buccaneers offense, although there is some injuries there, this will be a big test, especially when you're facing off against Baker Mayfield. And David, sorry, I've not really done my full homework, but what is the status on Bucky Irving? Hoping maybe you would know.
I looked I looked at our injury report earlier today, and I think I saw that he's still out.
Okay, okay.
He's out. Yeah, I have him on my fantasy team, so I know.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you hope that the bye week could help,
Fantasy helps.
help those injuries, but unfortunately, Bucky Irving will be out. But I still think that they're still fine on the offensive side, especially with Baker there. He's able to create a lot of plays. But yeah, it's tough because of the defense on New England. But I just think that they have yet to really face an offense like this besides Buffalo. The Carolina, I mean, they're not as talented
Yeah.
on offense
Well,
as.
I mean, like I said, there's a reason why I added a big asterisk to Carolina, because Carolina does have a winning record,
Yeah,
but they're obviously not as good as their record says they are.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about that. because I think the Panthers they're not good, but they are mid, and their record is mid. So
Yeah, but let's say Rico Dowdle didn't have those two giant games. How well would they actually fare?
the
So
Panthers are Rico Dowdle.
I know.
Rico
That's sorry.
Dowdle is.
Sorry. That is true. It's definitely not Bryce Young. That's for certain. But
Oh yeah.
uh, but give me the Bucks this game coming off a bye. I think that they're going to be well rested and well prepared, especially at home. I'm going to take them 21-14. Thaddeus.
I'm actually going to go against you guys. I think the Patriots will pull out this one, mainly because I see these offenses actually as equal. I think both quarterbacks are playing at a really high level, but they have injured starters. Keyshawn Booty for the Patriots is going to be out, I believe, which was Drake May's deep threat, and obviously for the Bucks, Bucky Irving is still out, and they really haven't had that consistent run game with Rashad White. Now Rashad White is a really good receiving back, but he's not a running back. And you're going up against the number one rush defense in the NFL. Now, again, they didn't haven't played great competition, but they do have the NFL's number one rush defense. So that leaves it up. And I just trust this Patriots defense a little bit more than the Bucks defense. The Bucks are a little bit more banged up, and really, it's gonna have to be Baker and any other receiver but Abuka because he's going up against Christian Gonzalez, I believe, and Gonzalez is a lockdown corner. Now he did get destroyed by Drake London, but I really don't think Abuka is really good, but he's not Drake London yet. So I really think Gonzalez is going to put the clamps down on Abuka, and Baker will have to look at other places. And I don't think the Patriots offense is going to get much going either because they're missing Booty. Because Drake May has just been throwing it to Stephon Diggs and Booty and nobody else really. So it's going to be a really low scoring battle. But give me the Patriots 17-10.
Yeah, I mean, they're both teams are going to have to really, check their progressions. They can't just focus on their number one wide receiver. They're going to have to be able to check their twos and threes. So that's something to keep an eye out on. This next game, what makes this next game interesting is we know that the Niners every year, sorry, Thaddeus, always deal with the injury bug. It's just how it is. But what I expected this year going into this matchup is I would have guessed Matthew Stafford would have been out for the Rams and not Brock Purdy for the Niners. Unfortunately, it's the other way around. Matthew Stafford is in, Brock Purdy is out. We've got the Los Angeles Rams facing against the San Francisco 49ers. Thaddeus, it's your Niners here. What do you have to say?
Well, the first game was really exciting, and it was a really unexpected upset, and it's really what's kept us in the NFC West race. The NFC West is looking absolutely stacked, even with the Cardinals at the bottom. The Cardinals are looking better. They got their first round draft pick back, and the defense looked way better. And Jacoby Brissett is, dare I say, looking like a upgrade over Kyler Murray right now. So the NFC West is stacked, even though, despite obviously the Seahawks have a great defense, Sam Darnold MVP conversation. Rams, they have a great defense as well. Defensive line is fantastic. Matthew Stafford slinging it every game basically. Puka Nakua up there with JSN as the best receiver in the NFL currently. And then you have the Niners, who are the most injured team in the NFL, yet still have 6 wins. So the 49 IRs, as we like to call them. Um, but so it's just an insane race. And the Niners started off 3-0 against the division, which was really, really massive help. I said in the preseason that the Niners went one last year, they went 1-5 against the division. I was like, that can't happen again. They have already tripled that win total this year, and boom, they're still in the race for the title contention. Now, I'm just gonna flat out say it. I really hate to say this, but I actually do think the Niners are going to lose. Um, the Rams are just on a roll right now, and the Niners just got injured again. It was almost a 100% certain possibility that someone was going to have an injury on MetLife last week. And lo and behold, our first pick, defensive lineman Williams, goes down with a torn ACL, out for the year. While he wasn't like a great pass rusher, he was a great run defender. And I mean, we got Keon White from the Patriots, so we'll have to see what happens. But just keep on getting injured. I do not know how much longer we can keep up this. Like, I mean, Kyle Shanahan has been a man on a mission this season. So he's been drawing up plays. Mac Jones has been playing just really solid football to keep this team afloat, and it's been enough to win them games. But and they even squeaked out, like I said, against the Rams, like that crazy win where the Rams went for it on fourth down. I don't know if Sean McVay is going to make that mistake again. So give me the Rams in this one. Sadly, give me the Rams 24-17. And it's going to be a close game because it is a division matchup. Like, if you think this is going to be a blowout like it was the Rams side against the Saints, no, that's not going to happen because this is a division game. But do give me the Rams to split the series in this one.
Do you remember the last year that the Bills didn't win the AFC East? The New England Patriots won that division. And who led them to win that division? That was none other than Mac Jones. Okay. Mac Jones has not been a great quarterback in the NFL. Okay. I know they drafted him hoping that he would be Tom Brady's, to fill those shoes, which no one could ever do. Okay. But Mac Jones is really helping the 49ers right now while Brock Purdy is hurt, okay? And he is having to face some really great competition. So I have to give him kudos there. And I have to give Kyle Shanahan a lot of kudos for what he's doing too for the Niners. The Rams, on the other hand, they've dealt with the injury bug, especially with Puka Nacua. Okay, that is a big, you know, uh, that hurts a lot. But like we said earlier about don't try to fix something that's not broke, I will say that almost the same concept as that. I can't knock on a team if they continue to prove me wrong. This whole time I thought the Niners, with dealing with all the injuries, were going to be losing quite a bit, and they have yet. So I can't choose against the Niners in this game. I just can't because they keep proving me wrong even with all these injuries. So I'm actually going to take the Niners this game. It's going to be close, but it is going to be a decent scoring game. Give me the Niners winning this game at home 24-21. David?
Well, I guess I'm going to be the nonconformist here and to pick the Rams. I'm just going to give out my prediction. I'm going to take the Rams 17-3. So it'll be a low scoring blowout kind of game. So contrary to what Thad thinks is going to happen. But also I wanted to ask this question that both of you I want you to answer. But does it feel like the Rams are the most underrated team in the NFL this year? Because everybody's talking about the Colts, everybody's talking about a lot of other teams, kind of drawing a blank there, but no one's really talking about the Rams. Like no one really gives a crap about the Rams this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, if you had asked me this question 2 weeks ago or so, I'd say, well, it was Seattle, and that's the crazy thing about the NFC West right now is that their teams are producing and they're quietly being some of the best teams in the NFL, including Seattle. So that as much as the media always wants to talk about the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, now that they won a game
Mm.
finally, there's teams that are actually performing better than all of them, including Seattle and including the Rams. So yeah, I would agree that they are one of the more underrated teams in the NFL right now.
Well, the one reason I would give maybe the Rams aren't getting enough attention. Obviously, they blew out the Saints. The Seahawks did the same. But the Rams have lost some weird games. Their couple losses are kind of weird. But then their one biggest weakness is their secondary. They have a great defensive line, but their linebackers and secondary aren't that great, which
Mm.
was why the 49ers were able to exploit, and Kendrick Bourne had the game of his career against them. So maybe that's it. But otherwise, this offense is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, you have to tip the cap there. I mean, they are still producing at a high level, even when the media is not talking about them. And this is a team in LA we're talking about,
I was going to
which
say
is such a big market,
it.
area.
It's hard to think of a Los Angeles team as underrated, but I think they are.
Yeah, the media is not going to really talk much about them. But speaking of Los Angeles teams, even though I'll still always refer to them as the San Diego Chargers, they take on my Pittsburgh Steelers, and it is a home game for the Chargers, but historically, it's not a home game for the Chargers. If you've watched any of the last Chargers and Steelers game that have taken place in LA, it is filled with terrible towels. It is filled with Steeler fans to the point to where the Chargers are embarrassed because they're no longer at home is really what it feels like. And that can be a testament to the Steeler fans. They do travel well. But there's not a whole lot of people that are also Charger fans. I hate to say it. Sorry, Mom. My mom's a Chargers fan. But there's just not a whole lot that are Charger fans. But these games have been close every time that they've played the last several years. They always put up a great matchup, these two teams together, to where it does come down to the last possession. The last time these teams played was last year. You had a very hobbled Justin Herbert playing in that game. And surprisingly enough, they actually had a healthy offensive line at the time, too. Well, that's not going to be the same case this week, where uh, Justin Herbert is healthy, but his offensive line is very much so unhealthy, with now Joe Alt out. So Rashawn Slater, who got injured in preseason, out for the year. Now Joe Alt is also on that list. I mean, who's going to protect Justin Herbert at this point? Okay. The Steelers have not had a great defensive year this year. All right. We have not. We rank in the bottom 5 in total defense this year. And we are the highest paid defense in the NFL. That is very sad to say. I hate admitting it, but I do have faith in a lot of our guys, such as TJ Watt, Cam Hayward. Okay. There's a lot of veterans on this team that I do see some things turned around. We just played the number 1 offense in the NFL last week. And surprisingly, we did great. Okay. Did not see that coming as well. But sometimes things is an anomaly. Okay. Is that the case with this week? I don't know. It is really hard for me to say because we are so wishy-washy on the defensive side. We have now permanently moved Jalen Ramsey to the safety position, which he actually looks really great at, okay? But is it going to continue like that? Justin Herbert, surprisingly, is number 2 in the NFL with passing yards and touchdowns. He's actually having a great year this year, and the Chargers are doing good. Just like the NFC West, the AFC West is also loaded with 3 teams currently in the playoff picture. So that just shows you how well and how tough that division is. Aaron Rodgers is playing clean this year, but he's not playing flashy, but that's okay. I'd rather him play smart. It's just this offense that the Steelers are bringing in each week is different. Don't really know what to expect from a team like this. And well, they didn't do anything to help bolster their offense at the trade deadline, like much thought was going to happen. They were looking for receivers. They didn't end up with any. Actually, sorry, stand corrected. They did end up with one. That was Valdez Scanley, Aaron Rodgers' old teammate. All right, and he's pretty excited about that. But they signed him to the practice squad. I don't know how often he's even really going to get on the field in game time when it matters. But the last couple meetings, the Steelers have beat the Chargers, and I expect that to happen again this year. Give me the Steelers beating the Chargers in this game, 17-14. These offenses sometimes really don't put up big numbers, so I'm not expecting much this week in that category as well. So give me the Steelers over the Chargers, 17-14. David?
Yeah, I think you have to account for the wave of momentum that the Steelers are riding on right now. I thought I don't remember what I predicted the score of the Steelers Colts game to be. If I even made a prediction, but certainly I thought that the Colts would win. But the fact that the Steelers won, and especially the way they did it, I think going into that game, I think the Colts had just 3 turnovers all season, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think they committed 3 turnovers just in that game alone. And Daniel Jones didn't have a great game himself either, if I recall correctly. And like you said, it could have been an anomaly. It could have been an anomaly, or it could have it could have been the turning point. Um, we'll see. But I'm also going to take the Steelers over the Chargers. There's the I don't really know what to make of the Chargers. I think Herbert's been fine. I mean, he hasn't been spectacular, but he's been fine. There's I can't think of a better word to describe Justin Herbert than fine. Like he's doing fine. Nothing more. Nothing less than that. Um, but yeah, give me the Steelers 23-21 over the Chargers.
Thaddeus?
Yeah, it's gonna be a clean sweep for the three of us. Yeah, I also think the Steelers are gonna win. The thing with the Chargers is the offense has produced when the offensive line is healthy. Justin Herbert looked really good with either Joe Alt this year, but when he was out, this offense suffered, and now he's out for the rest of the year. And
Mm.
you're going up against the Steelers defense that might have turned the corner against the Colts. We still don't know exactly because they were pretty bad the first half of the year, but maybe they've turned it around. Veteran presence and everything. Now the Chargers defense, while inconsistent, is still pretty good. They got Khalil Mack back, which was their big X factor, and now the weird game last week was Titans Chargers, and you think, oh, that was a close game, 27-20. Well, it wasn't because the Chargers defense only allowed 6 points. The Titans got 2 touchdowns off of a pick six and a punt return touchdown. So
Mm.
the Chargers defense is still really good. It's just the offense is going to suffer. And especially if TJ Watt can wreak havoc on the Chargers offensive line, because the replacements, I don't know what their names are, but they've been turnstiles in Joe Alt's absence. So I expect TJ Watt to take full advantage of it and the Steelers to score just enough points to win. So give me the Steelers as well, 20-14 in this one.
Yeah, I definitely think just enough points to win is pretty accurate there in a Steelers game right now. So this last game is also going to be a great game. This is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. And I'm sure you guys have noticed if you watch the show, our very own Ed Smith is not here tonight, but he did leave me with a couple questions that he's hoping the Packers, answer for him this week. Ed is not your normal, typical fan. Ed is a diehard fan, okay? He knows things about the team that the team doesn't even know about themselves, okay? So for Ed to, have questions that he wants answered, I mean, they're legit. And one of the first things that he really wants to know, because last week the Green Bay Packers are coming off a loss against the Carolina Panthers, is is the run defense that they had against Rico Dowdle an anomaly, or is this what they can expect going forward? Okay, we've mentioned the name already once this episode, Rico Dowdle. Okay, Rico Dowdle has actually done great at leading that rushing offense for Carolina. It really has been an amazing run game, but Green Bay was able to slow them down, but they weren't able to pick up the win. So, are we going to see this with Green Bay, with the run, or are they going to, you know, go back to their old ways? So that is one of the main questions that Ed really wants answered. But then another one, and this is going to be one of the more popular ones right now, is how do they fare with Tucker Kraft going out for the year? Because Tucker Kraft was actually having a great year for a tight end for Green Bay and just for the whole NFL. Tucker Kraft was actually doing amazing. So how do they fare, and what does the offense look like now that Tucker Kraft's not there? Yes, they do have another tight end in Musgrove, but is he going to be able to put up those type of numbers that Tucker Kraft was able to do? So that's another great question, because when one guy goes down, especially a guy who's been helping your offense tremendously, it does make you wonder, are they going to be able to continue to put up those type of numbers, especially his backup? And can Josh Jacobs finally get his first 100-yard rushing game this year? The fact that Josh Jacobs hasn't had one yet should tell you that he's not having the best year, because Josh Jacobs can be pretty consistent in putting up numbers like that. So these are just a couple questions that Ed once answered in this game. For me as a fan and as a sports guy, I want to kind of turn things over. Can Saquon Barkley do that? Saquon Barkley has been so quiet this year, unlike last year where he put up massive numbers in his first year with Philly. Is he going to be able to do that this year? David, we saw before the Eagles bye and before this trade deadline, there was a lot of tension with A.J. Brown and this offense with the Eagles. Do you think they come back after this bye week and actually start putting the foot, on the gas pedal?
Yeah, I think they do. Um, and we've talked about it before, but the Eagles still have a top three roster, and yes, they are winning, and most likely they're going to repeat as winners of the NFC East, which that division has not had a repeat winner in 20 or so years. But the Eagles haven't been dominating teams the way that they did last year. But I think right now, I think we can say that they're at a point now where they are ready to do that. But it's interesting. Ed talks about Josh Jacobs not having a 100-yard running game yet. Well, he has a perfect opportunity to do that this Sunday, because the Eagles actually do not have a very good run defense. They have a below average, if not just outright bad, run defense, because they're giving up 120 yards a game on the ground. So Jacobs will definitely have a chance to shine there. But so even though I did say that I think the Eagles have an opportunity to put their foot down, I don't think they're there quite yet, because I actually am going to take the Green Bay Packers. And will this be an upset? I don't know. I don't know what the odds are, but I'm gonna take the Packers over the Eagles, 24-18.
Okay. Thaddeus, do you see a similar path, or what are you seeing in this game?
It it'll be interesting. I kind of don't know what to make of it, but I kind of do at the same time. The loss to Kraft, I think that's really big. Like, I think Musgrave is a good tight end, but he's not Tucker Kraft. And the problem with the Packers is they've been really inconsistent. Now they do have a winning record. They have a good winning record, but their two losses are against the Panthers and the Browns, and that's really telling. So a lot of people, claim fire LaFleur. I don't say that, but they have been really inconsistent offensively. On paper, Jordan Love is having a good to okay season. Like, he's not having a bad season, but when you watch the tape, he's just really inconsistent. Like, he's Aaron Rodgers one quarter and Brett Favre the other three quarters. So it's really telling. The team is going how Jordan Love goes, in my opinion, and because the defense is good. Like, they were able to stop the Panthers somewhat last week, but the offense just couldn't keep up at all. And I don't know if I can trust that. Now, they played tough against some good teams this year, but I don't know how they're going to do it against the Eagles, because the Eagles, they're coming off their bye week. And let's not forget, in the trade stuff that happened right before, the Eagles traded for Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins. So that was also a pretty big trade. Jalen Phillips back with Vic Fangio, because surprisingly the Eagles, like you said, David, the run defense hasn't been great. Maybe Jalen Phillips fixes that. I don't know, but they will get after the quarterback more. I would assume so. And like, it's this roster is just too good. And actually, realistically, the Eagles might blow out the Packers. I, there's still like back in my mind, the Packers could potentially win this because they do play good games 70-80% of the time. But this Eagles team is too good to win against, in my opinion. So give me the Eagles in this one, 27-17.
Yeah, and
I
yeah,
think
David, you can go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, man. I keep interrupting you. You go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, the Eagles did trade for a lot of defense this trade deadline. I mean, they got Michael Carter, cornerback, they got Jalen Phillips, and they also got Jair Alexander from the Ravens. And I know Alexander, hasn't really done much, since his Green Bay days, but he's still a great cornerback, and he's going to be facing against his old team in this game. So that is something to look at as well. But I just the Eagles coming off their bye, uh, I just really feel like this game is not going to be close because if you watch the Steelers and Packers, the first half, the Packers just didn't look like they knew how to play football. And if the Steelers would have capitalized more, I think that the Steelers do win that game. I think that the Eagles will capitalize on those off quarters that Jordan Love is not playing, a high tier football. So give me the Eagles actually blowing out the Packers in this game, 28-10. David, I'll let you go ahead and finish your point.
Yeah, and I think to touch on Dad's point about Green Bay being inconsistent. I know that at some point, I think maybe the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, they were the only team in the NFL to be up by double digits in every single game, and yet they're not undefeated. So that definitely speaks massively to how inconsistent they've been.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers can easily be the best team in the NFL. They really can. They have the talent to do so.
And I
But
think they
consistency.
demonstrated that when they blew out the Lions the first game.
Yeah, it was not close. I mean, that was JV versus varsity at its finest in that game. So that's the thing is that it can be scary when the Packers are clicking, and once they fine tune everything, that could be a very scary team to face, especially in the playoffs. Now that they have Micah Parsons too, they got that star on the defensive side of the ball. So that's is something to keep an eye out on. I just think this week, I think the Eagles do blow them out. So that's why I got the Eagles in this game. Thaddeus, before we hop off, how are our records looking?
Last week was a really weird week. We had a couple surprising wins. So it was whether you were betting, whether you were just casually guessing who was going to win, it was not a great week. So none of us had a winning record. David, Matt, and I, or no, sorry, Ed, Matt, and I went to 1-2. David went 0-3. So that puts David still in fourth place at 10-20. Ed in third place at 15-17. Matt in third place at 16-14. And then I am still at first with 19-11.
Just a few games ahead. I'll be right there. Got to start picking different than you, Thaddeus, in order for me to get there.
Sorry. Ed is 13-17. Sorry,
Yeah. Well,
15-17.
we appreciate you guys tuning in. Please hit that like and subscribe button, share these videos, and hit the comment button and let us know your thoughts and opinions. But until next time, guys, that's the final whistle. We'll catch you next week.